Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 14, 2021 regular board meeting of the Kitsap Regional Library Board of Trustees. We have a quorum of trustees here, including myself, Stephanie George, Sue Whitford, and Gina Steiner. I regret to inform you that we recently learned from Bobby Driscoll that he is resigning from the board because of family and personal reasons. So let's start the meeting. And Sue, I think you get to read the mission statement.
Yes, thanks, Dan. So the mission statement is inspiring our community to dream more, learn more, do more, and be more.
Hear, hear. Jill, do you have words of welcome?
I do, but so welcome everyone, but mostly I wanted to use this opportunity, Dan, to say thank you to you. I don't know if you remember, but over 10 years ago, I came to you and asked you if you would be part of our library board of trustees, and I think your exact words were, I would be honored. And, you know, over the 10 years you've been with us, Dan, I think we've used you and perhaps abused you because we've overused you, but you have been our rock. And not only have you kept us on the straight and narrow regarding any legal matters, but you've just been an amazingly attentive board member, and we are just so grateful. I wish I had better words than thank you. And I wish I had a Silverdale library ready to open for you, because I think both you and I said that we would stay until we got the Silverdale library open, and we almost made it, Dan, but we will get that building open in March, and I hope you can come back and enjoy that very sweet moment with us when we open the doors of that new building. We've only been waiting since 1998, but we finally made it. So thank you for all of your support during this kind of crazy time of getting to the end product. But we are almost there, and truly the goal is in sight. But thank you, Dan, so much for all you've contributed to our library system. I think there are days you probably felt like you were a member of the staff, but we are truly grateful. And so in your honor, we have got you and your family a book called, and I'm going to hold it up, I don't think it's going to do it justice, but it's called The Most Beautiful Libraries in the World, which we thought was fitting for the very artist sort of oriented family that you have. So we hope you enjoy that book. There's a wonderful bookmark from our foundation, and then we've also got a paperweight thank you that is very similar to what we give our staff during our staff awards. But I will drop all of these items off to you, Dan, but again, we are so grateful. And we will have a similar book in our collection with a book plate that is dedicated to your years of service. So people that happen to read about the most beautiful libraries in the world will see that you supported libraries here in Kitsap for all the 10 years you've been with us. So thank you, Dan. Again, I wish I had better words, but we're very grateful. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's been my honor and pleasure to serve the Kitsap Regional Library, and I think this has been some of the most satisfying work I've ever done. So I appreciate that. And I'll be a little bit embarrassed, but let's move on. Do we have any additions or changes to the agenda?
We have none since the revision date of earlier this morning as posted.
Okay, thank you. Public comment. The Board of Trustees welcomes public comment. This time is designated for the public to address issues other than personnel issues or those included on the agenda. We have received a number of public comments that meet those guidelines, and I will, as we said we were going to do, I will read them into the record. The first is from, I hope I get this name right, Seamus Petrie. It's addressed to the 5 trustees, well, including Bobby. And I quote, "I am writing to let you know that at both the 11/23/2021 meeting of the Kitsap Regional Library Board of Trustees and at the special meeting on 12/10/2021, members of the public were asked to provide their name and email address in order to virtually attend. I don't know whether this was intentional or inadvertent, but in either case, it is a clear violation of the Open Public Meetings Act, specifically RCW 42.30.040, which says, a member of the public shall not be required as a condition to attendance at a meeting of a governing body to register his or her name and other information, to complete a questionnaire, or otherwise to fulfill any condition precedent to his or her attendance." And then there's a link to that citation on the internet. I assumed it had been unintentional when it happened back in November, but after seeing it happen again on Friday, I became really concerned. I know that public disagreements can be uncomfortable and that KRL administration or the Board of Trustees might want to avoid that discomfort. But I just don't think it's worth it to violate the law and expose yourselves to legal liability in order to do so. I hope that this was unintentional and that it will be an easy fix to go back into compliance with the law, and that y'all will take immediate steps to do so before the 12/14/2021 meeting. Thank you for your time and service on behalf of KRL and the community. Solidarity, Seamus Petrie, Washington Public Employees Association, UFCW Local 365. I do want to take a second to respond to this public comment because we took this very seriously. We had no idea that when we switched Zoom platforms in November, that the new platform that we acquired was asking for this information. And so when this email came in yesterday at just before 5 o'clock, we took steps immediately to switch to the Zoom platform that we had been using prior to that since the beginning of the pandemic. And that's the platform we're on tonight. I hope that has solved the problem. If it hasn't, we will do what we can to solve the problem. I will say that the library is not the one collecting this data. It's Zoom that's collecting the data in order to let people into that program as part of their security protocol. I will also say that anyone who feels like they're being asked to provide information that they don't want to provide can log into these meetings by telephone, and there's a telephone link in the connection for the Zoom meeting. So you could do that if you thought that that was problematic. But we will do what we can to fix this problem as soon as we can, and I'm hoping that we've done that tonight. The next letter, public comment, is from Olivia Rose Muzzy. I think I got that right. And she writes, this is a quote, "Ethics requires keeping the question of ethics alive." And it's a quote from Sarah Ahmed, Complaint, 2021. I assume that's a book. Last month, 37 people wrote to the Kitsap Regional Library Board regarding budgetary issues, and these letters were not read into public comment, but instead were moved to correspondence where they were dismissed with no more than a few words from the president of the board. Please describe how the trustees, quote, "keep the question of ethics alive," close quote, when the concerns of the public are so blatantly ignored. Please also describe the criteria used to classify letters from the public as personnel, quote, "personnel issues," close quote. Additionally, I wanted to highlight this language from the Open Public Meetings Act, RCW 42.30.040. And I will read it again. "A member of the public shall not be required as a condition to attendance at a meeting of the governing body to register his or her name or other information, to complete a questionnaire, or otherwise to fulfill any condition precedent to his or her attendance." And then the link to the site. It's signed Olivia Muzzy, delegate to the Kitsap Central Labor Council for WPEA, UFCW Local 365. The next comment is from Garrett Nobbs, and it's addressed to the trustees. I submitted a public comment last month, which you grossly and creatively misinterpreted as pertaining to personnel, quote, personnel issues, close quote, which allowed you to censor it from public comment, consider it, quote, correspondence, close quote, and make no other acknowledgement of it. You also appear to have done this with 36 other letters written to you about the ongoing management and administration of Kitsap Regional Library. It is personally insulting and morally reprehensible for a public governing body to take such actions which egregiously sidestep public input in a public board meeting regarding the use of public monies in the administration of the library. Each of us who wrote did so out of genuine concern for how our county library system is being run. Each letter represents an investment of our own time and a legitimate use of our voices as taxpayers and library patrons. To summarily dismiss and censor these letters, misrepresenting their contents in order to mention them only as, quote, correspondence, close quote, is disgraceful, especially in a time in which there is no other way for us to provide public comment. Please provide your definition of, quote, personnel issues, quote, close quote, for the public. Those of us who care deeply about our library want to ensure that the board takes its commitment to conducting public business seriously and expect transparency in your conduct. We need to have assurance that we are able to speak on important issues regarding our library without having our voices intentionally silenced with creative interpretations of meeting bylaws. I would remind you that your duties on the board include taking the input of the public seriously, who fund the library with our taxes. I previously requested an explanation of how my letter specifically regarded, quote, personnel issues, close quote, on November 23rd. After I was informed that my letter would not be considered a public comment for this reason, I have received no response to date. I will respond to that merely to point out that we have consistently treated matters related to salaries and other employment benefits that are being negotiated in a collective bargaining agreement as personnel matters. And we have stated our desire to keep those being negotiated in the collective bargaining session and not in these public meetings. So that is the basis on which letters related to that subject only have been put in with correspondence. They're not withheld. They're posted with the agenda. Every letter is available to every member of the public to read. We have read every letter, and we've tried to respond to every letter. Thank you for your comments. We will consistently apply that metric. There's one last public comment letter. This one is from that one was from Garrett Nobbs, who signs himself as Kitsap County resident and taxpayer. This last one is from Mary Gleistein. I hope I pronounced that right. It's to KRL Board of Trustees. I am concerned about the Kitsap Regional Library's Board of Trustees' response to recent letters from community members with respect to staff wages. It is my understanding that the board is declining to make letters in support of an increase in staff wages as part of the public comments record of your meetings, using the rationale that these comments relate to personnel matters. I believe that this may be a misinterpretation of the intention of the guidelines, which I presume were adopted to apply to and provide protection for individual library employees, and not to issues like staff compensation system-wide. I'm concerned that in not making letters from the public on this important issue a part of the public comments read into the record, my letter and those of others were never read or considered by members of the board. I take my responsibilities as a citizen and voter seriously, and would like to have my support for fairness and equity with respect to library staff compensation a matter of public record. Please look into this matter and let me know how I can be sure that there is any reason for me to even bother to submit comments on important issues like this. Thank you, Mary Gleistein, Kingston. We did receive one other letter that asked to be treated as public comment. It dealt solely with wages and salaries. And that letter is included with the correspondence attached to this agenda, and you can see that there. That ends the public comment. And let's move on to the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion of the Board of Trustees with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired, items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda by request. This month's consent agenda includes minutes from the November 23, 2021 regular board meeting, payment of November 2021 bills, payroll and benefits, and surplus library materials withdrawn from the collection for November 2021, 4,606 items. Does someone want to make a motion as to the consent agenda?
And I'll make a motion to approve the items all contained in the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's been moved by Stephanie and seconded by Sue to approve the consent agenda. All in favor of that motion, say aye and raise your hand. Aye.
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 Okay, that's 4-0. Thank you. Moving on, board member reports. Let's start with Stephanie.
We gave
First on the list on the agenda.
Thank you, Dan. Outside of the activity that we spoke to last Friday at the special meeting related to the engagement of our new library director, I have nothing else to report.
Okay, well, you get lots of credit for that. We'll give you more kudos later on in the meeting. I also have nothing to report. I ended up I'm missing this month's Bainbridge Public Library Board meeting because it's happening right now. So, oh well. Stu, do you have anything to report?
Yeah, I did attend November's Friends of Manchester Library meeting. For a short time, I was able to hear Kathleen Wilson talk about the expansion at the Manchester Library, but then my internet went out, so then I did get to participate in the rest of the meeting, but at least I got that part, which was great. So,
well, good. Anything else? No. Gina, do you have anything you want to report?
No, I'm sorry to see Bobby go, and I was sorry to miss the tour on Saturday. I lost some time recuperating from my booster shot, so things got shuffled around, but thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the Strategic and Long Range Planning Committee report. Who's going to give that? Sue?
yeah, as soon as I can turn my mute button off, yeah. It was a lot of items on the agenda, but there's a couple of big highlight kinds of things. The South Kitsap Community Event Center, the library jail is still working with the city of Port Orchard, putting together a letter of intent that will continue the commitment that we have for that project. This is prior to putting together an official MOU, but it's just a letter of intent to sort of memorialize the partnership. Also, the Book Locker project, Sharon Grant led a group of librarians, and they went to visit other sites that have already implemented the book lockers. They talked about what's working, what's not working, and the plan is to have the book, so they've identified a site, I think it's at Paulsbo, is that correct? Okay, and the plan is to have that up and functional by the end of the summer. So there's some logistical issues to figure out with that, but that's going forward. With Silverdale, the capital campaign is still moving forward. There's under $250,000 left to still raise. There's a lot of community support. The gifts we're at the small gift stage, and so it's taking a little bit longer to get to that $250,000 mark. The Lisa Storette is doing the artwork. There's some artwork in the children's area that is sounds really amazing. And there's also, Lisa Storette is also helping with the donor wall. And Mike reported out that as far as the construction goes, there's been hopefully Mike, correct me if I get this wrong, but substantial completion with the shelves those shelves that can be installed are already installed, and that there's some furniture that's already been installed. So things are really moving down there. And we're looking at, I think, being able to have staff in the building, maybe the beginning to middle of March, and having the opening towards the end of March. So hopefully that will happen. There's I think later we might go into executive session to talk about a property sale, and then also with Manchester, I kind of alluded to that, the Manchester library or the Manchester expansion is all going forward, although it's tied to the Silverdale Library, because the shelves at the existing Silverdale Library will be used for the expansion at Manchester. So there's a timing issue there. So hopefully that can all happen together and be very smooth. It was a great meeting.
Any questions for Sue? Thank you. Sounds like it was a busy meeting. That property sale, we've decided to put on the agenda for a different meeting since it came up so late today. Financial report, Dan Baer.
Good evening, everyone. I was not able to provide a written copy of the November financial report due to the earliness of this meeting in the month. The county doesn't really close its records for November for its financial revenue reports till late last week. So, but I have prepared a financial report. I've gone through it. You'll get a copy of this at next month's meeting along with the December report. Revenues are actually back on track. We fell a little bit behind last month for property taxes. Now we're a little bit ahead, like $14,000. It should just even out to what we will be getting at the end of the year. Expenditures are well within budget. I reviewed all the accounts. There doesn't seem to be anything unusual, any unusual expenditures for the month of November. So we're still in good shape.
Great. Any questions for Dan? Okay, let's move on. Library director and administrative reports. Jill.
Well, as we did last December, because of the shorter time frame between meetings, we put all of the director reports into one report, but I have several directors that will be speaking with the board this evening. And first, I'd like to start with Kirsten Wooster, who is our interim HR manager. Welcome, Kirsten. And she's going to talk with the board a bit about the vaccine and testing mandate that is kind of in a limbo situation right now. But Kirsten, please.
Thank you, Jill. Good evening, everyone. So yes, we're carefully monitoring the federal mandate that came through, it came through last month. It's the emergency temporary standard on vaccination and testing put out by OSHA. Everyone was all prepared for it. And then, of course, there was some U.S. Court of Appeals that came through and blocked it and said that you can't do this. So it's not enforceable right now. We're all kind of waiting and seeing. And coming from Washington State, we're also watching the governor's office to see if he puts out a mandate as well on this. Basically, the federal mandate requires that all employers with over 100 employees require that their employees be vaccinated against COVID-19 or submit to weekly testing and wear masks indoors. We're in Washington State, so we're very used to wearing masks indoors. We do that now. That's our current practice. But this would add another layer to that with either weekly testing and tracking of all that testing for employees that are not considered fully vaccinated, or making sure that our staff members are fully vaccinated. So we're carefully watching it. We do have a draft policy under review, and of course, if this mandate does go through, we'll be sharing that with the board as well as with the employee bargaining unit. So that's where we're at on it. Wait and see.
Any questions for Kirsten? Okay, thank you, Kirsten, very much. Okay, I'd like both Quan and Shannon to talk about two key staff members who are going to be leaving, one to retirement and one to a new sort of wonderful job. So Quan, would you like to start, please?
Yeah, sure, I'm happy to. So, hello everybody. I think the Board of Trustees, who's heard reports from me, know that I like to speak a great deal in terms of how great the staff are in my division. So to change it up, I'll keep this very brief. I think Micah's 3 years and 2 months with us she's just done fantastic work for us. And I think her accomplishments speak for themselves in every monthly report that I've written and submitted to the board. I believe that things work out for the best in the end. So I'm extremely happy for Micah. She goes to a library system where there's positions that she could move up to organizationally that sort of specializes in this area. So I think it makes a great deal of sense. And I'm certainly thankful for what she's done for us and how long she's stayed here. So I'll leave it at that. But Micah is fantastic, and I think my only regret is that that the board really hadn't had a chance to meet with her. So unfortunately, that opportunity has passed. But you'll just have to take my word for it in terms of how great she was.
Thank you, Kwan, very much. Shannon, please.
Yeah, I'm honored to celebrate someone who most of the board probably has met with. Tommy Whalen will be ending her career with KRL at the end of this month. She started here in 1989 as a library assistant sub, has held many positions in the organization, but I think one thing that's really special about her career is she was encouraged by her manager and mentor, Sue Jones, the manager of the Little Boston location, to pursue a library degree, which she did, and luckily came back to us as the children's librarian, and then of course manager of Kingston and Little Boston. Tommy has done some huge work. She's helped design and transition to our beautiful village green space from, almost a median on the highway. She was a driving force in our fines-free transition, really did a lot of important research that got us there. But I think one of the things that I have learned the most from and that I honor the most about Tommy is her really relational style, her one-on-one relationship building that she's so brilliant at. She has an amazing ability to really hone in and listen, and has been an amazing coach and mentor and supporter of both staff and patrons. So I'm really sorry to see her go. I know her team will miss her greatly at Little Boston. She'll be missed throughout the organization, but I'm really excited for her in this next chapter. So cheers to Tommy this evening.
Mm-hmm. Very nicely said, Shannon. Thank you.
Yeah. Jill, I just want to comment. Sue was probably ready to do so as well. Tommy was very instrumental on the search committee, selection of the new library director, and it was just such a pleasure to work with her, both in terms of her wisdom, but also how very generously and graciously she captured really significant ideas, but also really spoke to the needs of staff. So I feel fortunate that certainly I got to work with her, even if she was kind of going out of the library. So just wish her the best.
After we announced Jason's appointment, she was the first staff person to send an email to me applauding the choice too. She was thrilled beyond words. So what a nice leaving for her too. It meant a lot to her to be a part of that committee. So, and then last but never ever least is Lucretia Robertson, who's going to talk with you about something that she learned when she was touring the Suquamish Museum. So Lucretia, would you please share the piece that you shared with me?
Thank you, Jill. Thank you, everyone. I hope you're having a good evening. This was captured in my, highlight of the year to staff. And as part of kind of deepening our learning staff, and you have been invited to visit the Suquamish Museum and, learn more about other cultures and understanding, deeply held traditions and values that way. It's not, it's sufficient, but it's a good place to start. One of the things that caught my eye was along the wall, there's a kind of a visual history of Suquamish people. It's very beautiful in there. And there's some words captured on the wall that I captured in the email, and I wanted to share it here with you because I think it's very fitting for our journey ahead. And so what's on the wall there is captioned the 10 rules of the canoe, and it's guidance for, your journey. And I'll read this very quickly. The first rule is keep going. Every stroke we take is one less we have to make. Respect and trust cannot exist in anger. There is to be no abuse of self or others. The adaptable animal survives. Be flexible. Every story is important. The gift of each enriches all. Number 5, nothing occurs in isolation. We all pull and support each other. Always nourish yourself. A hungry person has no charity. Our experiences are not enhanced through criticism. The journey is what we enjoy. Number 9, a good teacher always allows the student to learn. And number 10, when given a choice at all, be a worker bee, make honey. And that is adapted from David Forline's 1995, 10 Rules of the Canoe. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lucretia. And that is the end of our report, unless there are questions from the board. Thank you.
Any questions for Jill or Lucretia or Shannon or Juan or Kirsten? Well, thank you. I particularly like the 10 rules. I'm going to have to get those for myself. Let's move on. Correspondence. I mentioned that we did get at least one item that is correspondence that has been attached to the agenda. Were there any other items, Tammy?
No, there were none.
Thank you. Old business, it appears we have none. New business. Annual election of officers. Sue Whitford and Gina Steiner are our nominating committee. Which one of you wants to speak?
I'll go ahead, Dan. I just
Thank you.
want to say that Stephanie has really stepped up lately, and she's been nominated to serve as the incoming president, and so she gracefully accepted. And so Stephanie will be taking over in the role of president. And Sue has also, they've been a great team together and have both put in significant volunteer hours. And Sue has gracefully accepted to be the vice president. And so that's our two primary new officers. And I continue to look forward to learning more. So there you go.
Do you want to declare that a motion that we can formally adopt?
Yes.
I'll second that. Because I'm not one of the nominees. Any discussion? All in motion, raise your hand and say aye. By acclaim, aye.
It's kind of funny to vote.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Resolution 2021/08, adoption of the Kitsap County Rural Library District's 2022 operating budget. Dan Baer.
Hi, Dan. Thanks. The budget is actually the exact same budget you saw last month. No changes were made to it. So there's nothing else to talk about other than the fact that you're adopting the operating budget tonight, hopefully, and then next month we'll bring the capital budget forward for board approval for 2022.
So would someone like to make a motion regarding resolution 2021/08?
I will. I move that we approve resolution 2021/08, the adoption of the 2022 operating budget.
Is there a second?
Second.
Stephanie seconds. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
That's 4-0. Thank you. The motion passes. The resolution is adopted. 2022 Strategic Plan. Jeannie Allen.
Good evening.
Hi.
Well, as has now become our custom, the leadership team met recently to do our quarterly planning, and this planning meeting is where we take all of the projects and operating goals that we've identified in the strategic plan, and we really discuss how we're going to make that happen in the next year, looking at what each role of each director is going to be and how the departments are going to collaborate to make those come to life. So out of that meeting, there were a few small changes that did occur in the strategic plan, nothing too significant. I think the most unfortunate is that we did have to add Silverdale Library back into the plan for next year, as it had dropped off, and we were hoping that it would be open by now. So you will see that the Silverdale Library is, of course, going to be a big part of the first quarter of next year, and that has been re-added to the plan. Additionally, after talking a little bit more about the project to do an HVAC system in our downtown Bremerton branch, we want to understand a little bit more from our partners there what their timeline and intention is, so we've removed that. Everything else is fairly easy and understandable, but I'm open to any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Jeannie about the plan?
I have a question that Jeannie, you just really identified the true meaning of agile.
Yes.
And Dan, if I could say one thing, we are preparing this strategic plan with the advent of a new director coming in February. And I just want to say that this is a very flexible plan and certainly is subject to a great deal of change based on what they may think is more prominent than what we have on paper. But we wanted it to be there as a guidepost if they wanted it or not. But I want to make that very clear that we are an agile organization and this is not cast in concrete.
Thank you, Jill.
Mm-hmm.
Would someone like to make a motion regarding the strategic plan?
Sure. I move that we approve the 2022 strategic plan as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Gina seconds. Any further discussion? I just want to thank everyone for all your hard work on this. It's always ambitious, and I really appreciate the effort that goes into constantly revising the plan. So, let's call the question. All in favor of approval of the plan, say aye and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
That's 4-0. Thank you. Moving on. Public announcement of new library director. Well, that thunder has been stolen from me a couple of times, but I'm pleased to announce that we've selected Jason Driver as the new Kitsap Regional Library Director. Jason comes to us from the Chicago Public Library, where he's been a district chief most recently, overseeing 14 branches and supervising 125 staff. He's a man of, in my opinion, vision and leadership and mentorship, and we're happy to have him. And I understand that he's somewhere on this call and would like to say a few words if the host can make that happen.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks, Dan. I'm Jason Driver, as Dan said, and I'm thrilled to accept the position of Library Director for Kitsap Regional Library. I'm absolutely thrilled at the selection. I really want to thank the Board of Trustees. I appreciate you. I also want to thank the search committee, inclusive of the administrative team, and also the branch managers and also the search firm. I'm really grateful and humbled to take this position. I feel honored to continue the work of Jill Jean. Jill, congratulations. This is certainly not going to be goodbye for you. I know you're going to still be working in the community and volunteering. I look forward to rolling up my sleeves and getting to know you and work with you. I'm really grateful to everybody's support and making me feel welcome. there's a wide range of emotions right now, and that I'm both saying goodbye to staff here and preparing to start a new role. So, overall, my family's happy. I have to, on behalf of my beautiful wife, Annie, and my daughters, Juliana and Jennifer, I can't thank them enough because, sight unseen, they've agreed to go on this journey with me. And it really, we're excited to begin this journey of inspiration at KRL. I'm really excited to meet all of the staff. I'm excited to get to work and know many of the people. I've met many of the people on this Zoom call, and I look forward to meeting all the constituents, library supporters, library users. I've had a lot of people reach out to me via LinkedIn, Facebook, and so forth and so on. And everybody speaks great things about KRL, the community. And I can't wait to become a part of it. My wife and kids are flying out tomorrow to sort of get a lay of the land and figure things out. And, we can't wait. I don't want to take up too much time. I would just say I'm extremely grateful and honored to be a part of this family. It is a family. And although I have a wide range of emotions, fear included, because, anytime you explore something that's unknown, there's a little bit of trepidation, but, there's solace in the fact that libraries are the same everywhere. Provide a core value of services that I think are welcomed by the public. And I'm looking forward to continuing that legacy of stewardship and to be able to grow with you. And that's exactly what it is. It's a growth opportunity for me and my family, and it's a growth opportunity for us to continue the great work that you've all done at KRL. And I was really struck by that when I took my tour and talked to everybody, and I felt like everybody really cared about their library. And that was really the tipping point for me, was that everybody cared so much about what they did, and they really felt like this was an important step. And you have faith in me, and so I have faith in you. And so we're going to take this journey together, and I will be there. And Jill, congratulations on you have a retirement party. And this is while it's the sunset of your career, I understand that there are many things on the horizon post retirement. So I'm looking forward to getting to know you, all of you. And thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Jason. We're very excited to have you join us, and can't wait for you all to get out to Kitsap and start your new adventure here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. So let's move on. Jason's first day is going to be February 1st. And in light of that, we'd like to propose that we extend Jill's contract for the month of January and the first half of the month of February, so that we have continuity in the director's role and can have some overlap between Jill and Jason so that he can get oriented to the library and move forward. So the proposal would be to extend the contract on the same terms for that month and a half. And would someone like to make that motion?
And I'll make the motion to support the extension of Jill's contract through, I think it's Monday, February 13th.
Well, it says February 15th on the agenda.
Okay. To support both continued items of while we're in transition, and also to provide that critical overlap and introduction for Jason when he arrives in his new role.
I second.
So there's a motion and a second to extend the contract. Is there any discussion?
No.
Okay, let's call the question. All in favor of that motion, raise your hand and say aye.
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 4-0. So thank you. That is the end of the agenda. Our next meeting, your next meeting is January 25th. I plan to fade into the sunset at the end of the year. It's been a great 10 years, and I've appreciated every minute of it. Thank you all. I understand there's another tour of Silverdale scheduled. Can someone remind me what that date is, since Gina missed the last one?
It's actually December 20th, which is a Monday at 3:00 in the afternoon.
Okay.
And we have a delightful tour on Saturday. Progress is really getting made. So I think anyone who is available will really enjoy the time.
Well, I plan to come, so
Good.
So I.
be great. Okay, well, thank you all for your participation. I wish everyone happy holidays, and we'll see you all soon.
Great, thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, have a great trip out here, Jason.
Thank you. Take care.